Hello, and a warm welcome to everybody who's tuning in to today's Flipgrid live event. I'm Kamalpreet, Educator Innovation Lead at Team Flipgrid. And friends, I'm so excited because today we are joined by the brain behind the coolest global nature campaign, Backyard Bio, Jessie Hildebrand. Jessie is a science communicator, a broadcaster, event coordinator, and the nature lover in chief for Backyard Bio, a global nature campaign. His work focuses on sharing the story of science, the greatest story ever told, with a wide audience, encouraging people, especially the youth, to see the world in a new way. And today, Jesse is going to tell us more about ways to look out for wildlife and explore, discover, connect with nature from our homes, backyards, schools, and anywhere we are. You, your students, your kids, everyone is invited to the Backyard Bio party. But before we get started, let me just say that if you don't know what Flipgrid is, it's a free video discussion platform from Microsoft. And we are on a mission to empower everyone on this planet to share their voice and to respect the diverse voices of others together. And that's why we are so excited about today's event. Over to you, Jesse. Take it away.
Kamal, thank you so much for such a beautiful introduction, and truly it's going to be so exciting diving in today with Backyard Bio, because Flipgrid is just the perfect platform for sharing it and getting people a whole community connected around this idea of nature in the wild. And so what I wanted to do today with our audience, and I understand we've got folks joining from all over. If you are joining from somewhere around the world, please do share in the chat. We'd love to hear where your classes or groups are from. I wanted to tell a little bit of a story, my personal story of how I got so invested and in love with the natural world, and then lead into Backyard Bio, what it's all about, how you can get involved, and hopefully inspire you all to get outdoors by the end of today's program. And so when I was the age of our kids and a little bit younger, it was the thing that got me up in the morning. I honestly, if you want to put in the chat as well, there's something that makes everyone feel alive. Maybe it's movies, maybe it's music, maybe it's sports or art, maybe it's just going for a walk with family and friends. For me, it was always wildlife and nature. It was getting out into my backyard, literally. It was going to local parks, provincial, national parks in Canada, having the chance to camp and go explore and canoe and hike. It was the chance to learn about some of the most amazing places and species and animals around this planet. So when I was the age of our kids today, I had a hero named Steve Irwin. Steve Irwin had a show called The Crocodile Hunter. And he wasn't a hunter, he was a guy that went out and tried to talk about how amazing creatures were of all kinds, especially things that other people thought were scary or weird or strange, snakes and spiders and big, huge predators like saltwater crocodiles, and it just entranced me. This idea that you could make a living going out and talking about incredible creatures and share that passion with the public is as amazing to me now as it was when I was a boy. And so I did everything I could to learn about wildlife around the world. When I was a little kid, when I was about 7, I subscribed to a thing called Wildlife Fact File. So every week, a package would arrive in the mail for me with a printout about certain animals, a giraffe one week, a rhino the next, maybe a viper the next, and it would tell all the cool things about those animals and tell me where they existed in the world and if they were endangered or vulnerable or common. I have binders that are about this thick, I still have them to this day, of all those wildlife fact file moments. I rented and bought books and movies to explore and see these places and just be captivated by them for my entire youth. And so as I got older, I was lucky enough in a variety of ways to get to do some of those things. I love to travel. I love to travel to interact with new cultures, to try new foods, to see new people, but largely to go in pursuit of wildlife. I've been very lucky to have the chance to, paddle a boat amongst whales on Canada's east coast, see polar bears in the north in the country, and go to East Africa, be surrounded by some of these iconic animals that I grew up seeing when I was a boy, in pictures and in movies and being excited about, and see them live. And I think that those are some of the most special experiences I've ever had the chance to have in my life. They really impacted me. And so I had this vision that wildlife was always somewhere far away. You always had to travel, you had to go to these epic locales to go explore wildlife. And I realized something one day, and the thing that I realized is that when I went to these places, this was always people's homes. If you go to East Africa, if you go to the heart of Tanzania, there are people living there. That's their backyard. That's their neck of the woods. If you go to see polar bears, there's a whole community around the polar bears in Canada's north. And so the idea struck me that no matter where you are on this planet, it's someone's backyard. It's a place that for them is teeming with wildlife and is special. And it took me longer than it should have to realize this, really, because at 10, I went into my own backyard as a boy in suburban Toronto, Canada, and spent 2 hours with a magnifying glass and a sketch pad and a pencil trying to see how many different kinds of species I could find. So I counted all the birds that flew into the yard. I saw squirrel. Toronto has got a lot of squirrels. It's like our big claim to fame is the sheer number of squirrels we have. So we had squirrels, we had a raccoon, and I would count all the insects and the spiders and all the little things that I could see. And in 2 hours, I found 72 species, 72 different kinds of plant and animal that were native, that lived in my backyard. And so I had that experience very early on, so it took me a little longer than it should have, but that led directly to this idea, this sort of coalescing of the idea of nature being around the world, that it's always close by to someone. Why not get people more mindful about the wildlife that lives near them? Maybe they live in a forest in India. Maybe they live in the Amazon rainforest or in one of the most incredible natural spaces in the world in the Great Barrier Reef. Or maybe they live in the heart of downtown Visakhapatnam or Toronto or Edinburgh. No matter where you are on this planet, you are surrounded by wildlife. That is the central basis of what Backyard Bio is all about. And so the origins of it as an event began in something that we did back in 2020 as an organization. I'm lucky now, my day job is that I get to work with people, the sort of people that I used to watch on television as a boy. I get to work with them and bring them and share their stories with kids like you through programs every single day. And so we had done this big festival of programs, 60 programs in 3 days with amazing conservationists around the world working to save orangutans and grizzly bears and sea lions and all sorts of incredible creatures. And we said, if you're participating today, if you're a speaker joining us from some of these amazing locations, or if you're a student tuning in, go outside, take a picture of some living thing near you and share it with hashtag #BackyardBio on social media. And it went so far beyond my wildest dreams. I was so touched. We had a gentleman, he was talking about conserving lions in Kenya. He works with a group called Ewaso Lions. He's a Maasai warrior. And he finished his program with us and he walked 100 feet away and he took a picture of a lion because that's his backyard. Dr. Gladys, who I noticed in the pre-show today, is coming on a Flipgrid live event on May 27th. Dr. Gladys took a picture of a hornbill for our original Backyard Bio. She was the second person to ever post a picture of her Backyard Bio. And a hornbill, if you don't know in our audience today, is one of the most extraordinary birds in the world. I love hornbills. They are, honestly, I would give about anything to see one in the wild. They're such a magical animal. And so we had lions and hornbills, and students started sharing pictures of more squirrels and birds and snakes and bugs that were near them. And it was so entrancing to me to see people get so excited the way that I'm excited about the wildlife that live near them. And so in 2021, we made it much bigger, or I made it much bigger. This is the most fulfilling and fun professional thing I've ever done is come up with Backyard Bio and try and inspire kids like you with it. And so what we did was say, look, again, whether you're in the heart of a rainforest or the heart of a major city, there's so much near you. And let's give you a bunch of ways that you can go out and explore. The first stage really is to get outside, or at least to look outside. I'm on the 8th floor of an apartment building here in Ontario, Canada, and I can look out my window and see a dozen different kinds of trees and birds of, I think, 5 or 6 species fly by. Sometimes there's little bugs that are trying to get in my house and I close the window more on them. But there's so much wildlife if you just look for it. So go outside if you can, look outside if you can't, and document what you find. So whether that's a picture, if you have the opportunity to take a picture with a camera or phone, if you don't and you have paper and a pencil, sketch it, draw out what you do. Your drawing does not need to be good. My drawings are terrible. I asked at the beginning what gets you up in the morning. Some of you might have thought art and drawing, and I can draw a stick person and I can draw a bird that looks like a little M, like a seagull flying away. That's about all I can do. But I did that when I did those 72 species as a boy, and I had a sheet with all the pictures of birds and insects and slightly different colors that I colored in with pencils. That's valuable. That's amazing. So get outside, document what you find, and then share it. And honestly, if that sharing is just telling your family or telling your friends, wow, I went into my backyard and I saw this spider I've never seen before. Oh, there's a bunch of funny looking birds that are by the river today. We should go check them out. If you just tell your friends and family what you explore and find, that is really meaningful. That's really exciting because instead of sharing about any other kind of thing, you're sharing about wildlife. You're excited about nature near you and you're telling people about it, hopefully in a way that will make them want to join you and get excited about it as well. But for Backyard Bio, if you happen to have access to computers, the internet, you do today if you're joining us in this broadcast, there are 3 ways that we give people the chance to connect with one another. The first is social media. And honestly, you don't need to watch me talk. If you want to go to Twitter and type in #BackyardBio, I'll put it in the chat for everybody, you can see all the images that were captured from folks all over the world in the last year. And what was so special about it is that people didn't just take pictures of the wildlife they found, they took pictures of themselves going out and exploring. Because getting outside is great for your mental health, it's great for your physical health, it's great for your emotions, it makes you feel alive. And teachers and classrooms and families showed that. They said, wow, you know, we haven't gone out to go explore a stream in months, and Backyard Bio made us want to do that. It's going outside with purpose. It's going on an adventure with purpose. And so that was so heartening to see. And you can see all of that with that hashtag and all May long. And really, anytime you find something cool, share it with that hashtag. It unites people behind a shared love of wildlife. So the social media was fantastic. The second was something called iNaturalist. Now, iNaturalist and Seek. So Seek is the kids version of iNaturalist that makes it sort of like a game. If you capture a picture of a bird, you win the bird badge. If you capture a picture of a snake, you earn the reptile badge. These are tools that are amazing. If iNaturalist existed when I was the age of students in today's classrooms, I probably wouldn't have done anything else. I might not have even remembered to eat sometimes because they're so exciting. I told you about those wildlife fact file that arrived in the mail. iNaturalist does that, but for anything that you capture on any given day. If you have a phone and you take a picture of a tree, it will tell you what that tree is. It will show you everywhere else in the world that people have ever captured a picture of that tree. It'll teach you about that tree, some of its coolest facts, and you'll be able to see all the other people that were able to go explore and find it as well, which is amazing. And what we do with Backyard Bio is we have a project page. So a project page means that you take that picture and observation, your picture of that tree doesn't just live on its own. It gets connected to all the other pictures that people went out and captured for Backyard Bio. And so in that slide deck, if you got the chance to see it, showing all the Backyard Bio backdrop, we had 56,000 observations that people submitted for the campaign last year from 30 countries on 6 continents. And so it was amazing at a glance to say, wow, you know, we set up Backyard Bio, and here are people sharing from Cote d'Ivoire and South Africa and Fiji and Paraguay to be able to see at a glance what wildlife looks like, not just where you are, but around the world, and to be able to connect with those people to say, wow, what a beautiful picture, or wow, I didn't know that existed there, was so, so special. And so for this year, again, we're bringing back the iNaturalist campaign. Anyone is able to register. It's completely free and have the pictures that they take shared in this community of images from around the globe. So social media, iNaturalist, and then for classrooms, and our wonderful host Kamal was one of our best original champions for this, is teacher connections. When I was a boy in classes, we had a pen pal program. So we could write letters, and I think a lot of schools have done this all over the world. We could write letters to another classroom and they would get back to us and we could compare things and we could talk. And the class that we wrote our notes to was, 10 minutes down the road. So for us, they were very different. They were, wow, that school, we would never go to that school, but so nice to learn from them. And it was wonderful. With Backyard Bio, we want to give teachers the chance to connect with classrooms that are around the globe. So we had classes in South Korea and England and the United States and Canada where they would go out and do Backyard Bio. They'd go explore, they'd take these pictures, they'd learn about wildlife, and then they'd gather in a call and share what existed where. What was different? What was the same? Where now, as kids, you are the experts. You know, in my job, we bring in experts from around the globe. We bring in some of the people that have been featured in these other Flipgrid live events that are amazing, the coolest, most incredible people around the globe. And I love doing that. Flipgrid loves doing that. It's so amazing to have the chance to hear from these world experts and just the coolest people. But I think it might even be cooler to be the world expert for your local wildlife. Everyone knows their neck of the woods, their backyard, better than someone around the world could. And it's a chance to share that in a way that emphasizes particularly that incredible nature. And so social media, iNaturalist, teacher connections around the globe. So the Backyard Bio website is where people can see all of this. They can register, they can check it out, and that's at backyardbio.net. And I've shared some of those pictures and stories from last year, all the amazing participants we had around the globe. And honestly, as I said earlier, it's the most fulfilling thing I've ever done. You know, since I was 4 years old, through my backdrop, through the opportunities I was lucky enough to have because my parents really valued my love of wildlife and made sure I had those resources, I've always wanted to be in an opportunity, be in a position to share my love of nature with people and to do that for my life and to inspire other people to share their love of wildlife with the world. And Backyard Bio seems to be a really nice way of doing that. I think there's very low barrier to entry. Almost anyone can do Backyard Bio. As I said, even if you don't have the opportunity to share online, you can share with family and friends and get them talking about maybe some of their favorite experiences in nature, some of the favorite things that they've seen. And that is a really meaningful thing. And so I just want to say thank you so much to all of you for your time, for listening. I hope you take the chance to check it out on social media, to check it out on the website, and to join in this May in getting out and exploring wherever you're joining from around the world. There's so much to find, and I hope you have a marvelous time getting outdoors all May long. So thank you so much to Kamal, the entire Flipgrid team, and I'm so excited for questions. I always like to leave longer for questions because it's more fun that way. We can dive in and learn a little bit about what makes you so excited about nature and answer anything you want to know about wildlife, animals, some of my adventures, Backyard Bio, anything you'd like. So thank you all so much. And I'll turn it back to you, Kamal.
We're seeing so many amazing questions coming through the chat. A huge shout out to KMPS and Miss Shade for joining us, to Yogesh Kumar, to Archana and her class for joining us, to the SDG Warriors, they've joined us. So many amazing questions, and we are all so excited that you're here. We will get to the questions in just a moment, but before we do that, it's time to capture this special moment. Let's take a selfie with Jessie. Educators and parents, please gather your students in front of the screen and get ready to take a selfie. We'll wait for around 10 seconds, so hurry up. And while you're getting set up, be sure to tag us on Twitter at the rate of Flipgrid, SciJesse, that is SciJesse, using the hashtags Backyard Bio and Flipgrid for all. Okay, so are you ready? Let's do this. Say Backyard Bio. Yay!
Backyard Bio, yay!
All right, that was awesome. Be sure to tag us on Flipgrid and SciJesse using the hashtags Backyard Bio and Flipgrid for all when you post them out. And now to your questions. Students around the world are feeling curious. So we have the first question. Okay, they've asked us, I live in a city and do I need to go to a forest to explore nature?
No, so I mean, let's put it this way. I love forests. Forests are probably actually my favorite place in the world to explore. It's nice to get out to lakes and oceans and mountains and other things. Forests are just so wonderful. You feel different in a forest. And so if you get the chance, absolutely, you will find more wildlife there, and it's a special place, and it'll probably make you feel better too. But no, I have been in the heart of a major city where every surface is concrete. And I can tell you, in those places, you'll still see birds, you'll still see insects, you'll still see plants trying to break their way up through the concrete. And I think that that's its own lesson in and of itself. It's so nice to be able to see that literally life will find a way no matter where you are, and to recognize that you do not need to be in a protected area, in a special natural area to explore and find wildlife. So I love that question, but wherever you are, get out and enjoy. Just be mindful of it. Take that time to look a little more deeply than you would before.
Okay, we have Mr. Yogesh and his class asking us how the biodiversity can be conserved in a classroom.
Ooh, that's the big question in the world. That's a question we get for almost every one of our broadcasters. A lot of it depends on what's existing locally. So the situation is going to be different wherever you are around the world. But one of the things that every classroom can do is continue to teach your students about it. I know that sounds simple and even trite, but if you're a teacher, you have this opportunity with a bunch of pupils to inspire them with stories of nature and how it's changing and how people can have an impact. And I think that as a society, we would all be so much better off if so many teachers had taken that opportunity to say, here is our impact, here's what we can do, here are examples of where we've gone wrong, here are examples of where we've gone right, and let's aspire to the latter. So teaching your students is a great thing. Secondly, and this is something that depends on your classroom space, and it's so simple, but it's so great, plant native plants nearby. If you have a schoolyard that has the opportunity to do that, you should. If you have kids that have backyards, literal backyards or places around to plant native plants, that's such a big difference you can make, because native plants will attract native pollinators, will attract native birds. And so where I come from in Canada, most people plant their gardens with foreign plants that are very pretty and they're very nice, but the local animals have no conception of how to utilize those. They're not food for them, they're not stuff that they would normally live in, and so you end up with this beautiful garden, but an impoverished world with less biodiversity than there would otherwise be if you just planted probably equally beautiful native plants. So it's so small, but we're starting to see this on a world scale where people are taking the opportunity to sort of rewild their areas. And I think classrooms are a central part of that. Not only can you do it, but you can inspire so many other groups to do it too on a bigger scale and try and bring back the wild of what existed before in whatever scale that you can. And I think that that's, if I was to pick one thing, that's the best thing that classes can do.
Okay, we are getting a lot of questions about nature and they're absolutely wonderful. Did you know that we have an awesome Flipgrid topic of the day to help you explore even further called Backyard Bio, which has been created by Jesse himself. So classrooms, let me show you how you can find it so that you can use it right away. It is as easy as launching your browser. So you'll be launching your browser and typing aka.ms/backyardbio. And this will take you directly to today's topic of the day, that is Backyard Bio. You'll see an image and a prompt that your students can use to reflect upon and respond to. You'll also notice this small blue button that says Add Topic, and you can choose to add this topic to a group. You can create a new group, and you can also save it for later. Well, you can think of a group as your classroom. And here is what your students will see. There is a video prompt, some guiding questions, which they can use to reflect on the topic and of course submit their own video responses as they explore and discover the beauty of nature around them. They can have fun using all the new creative effects and expressions inside the Flipgrid camera. And if you haven't seen them yet, be sure to check them out. Remember that you can use this in your classroom and foster discussions with your students right away. Following today's event as a follow-up activity, we'll post that link in the chat for you to copy and paste. And there's another way that you can find out more topics which are related to nature. All that you have to do is you have to go to the Flipgrid Discovery Library and in the search bar, just type nature and you'll see so many ready to launch topics that you can use in your community immediately. So just type nature and you'll get all these topics coming up related to nature. And now it's time to get to more of your questions. So we have Miss Arti's class, Arna from Miss Arti's class asking, spring is a time of renewal, but it's also a time for insects, and there are lots of them. Which insect would you rather not encounter, Jesse?
That's a great question. So where we are, and I'm on the shores of Lake Ontario, so I'm on the shores of one of the Great Lakes of the whole world, and I've been here my entire life. I used to live in a city on the other side of it. Now I'm on a different side of the lake, and every May, actually starting in about a week and a half, we get things called mayflies, and we get so many mayflies that sometimes you walk around and you open your mouth and like 20 mayflies will fly in your mouth. And so, I mean, I'm really glad they're there. It's really important that we have such a huge profusion of life, but that's stuff that you maybe avoid the lake for those few weeks while the mayflies are out because you don't want to eat 500 bugs at once. What a great question. And may I just note too, seeing in the questions, it's so nice hearing your stories and getting out and exploring and taking pictures of birds and seeing how they grow up. I mean, that is the essence of all of this. And I do want to take the chance before our next question, just to say, I know we've got a lot of Indian classrooms today, and in my work, I get to work with a lot of classrooms around the world, a lot of Canadian and United States classrooms, and they are fantastic. Indian students, you guys are the most keen, the most willing to learn, the most excited about learning that of any place I've ever run across in my life. So it's such a pleasure to have so many Indian students with us today. Truly, it's such an honor, and your questions are so detailed and fantastic. It's wonderful. So thank you all.
Okay, we have another great question coming from Miss Arti's class. If there is anything about nature that really scares you, so they're putting you in a spot.
Yeah. No, actually, I mean, not nature on the whole. I think that there are places on the planet that, of course, you can go that have a danger element to them. But one of the lessons that I've learned from some of the speakers that we brought on in the broadcast that we do is that if you prepare enough and if you recognize those risks and acknowledge them and even have a fear of them, some of the best people doing the most risky stuff in the world are afraid every time that they go out to go do what they do, cave diving, mountaineering. If you recognize those risks and prepare for them accordingly, there's nothing to fear in nature. I think that's, respect is the word. You should always have respect for wildlife. You should have respect for places that you go and people that you interact with, but fear is not a helpful thing. I will say, I mean, I just said that, centipedes are not my favorite thing. If I see a centipede on the wall or the floor, I must say, like, I actually kind of recoil in horror, but like centipedes are cool. You shouldn't kill centipedes. You should leave them if they're not poisonous. But they're my only creature that I look at and I'm like, ugh. So that's yeah.
Okay, we have another question.
Okay.
This is Miss Sharde is sharing that Earth Day is coming up and her school wants to know some ideas. And how do you normally celebrate Earth Day?
Well, actually, normally for many years now, I celebrate Earth Day by doing programs on Earth Day. So typically Earth Day is a day that will have amazing biologists, explorers, speakers come on our program and share their work with kids. So that's always really special because so many people get so excited about Earth Day. So the chance to connect them is really important. But what do I do? I think honestly, it sounds again so simple, but be mindful of the things that you're doing in your life. It's something that we get in all our conservation programs. So be mindful of the wildlife that lives near you. Acknowledge that. That's the essence of backyard bio. Be mindful of the waste that you create and see if there are ways that you can create less waste. Whether that's emissions from your car, whether that's leaving the light on, maybe it's packing a lunch that doesn't require plastic. Earth Day always makes me extra cognizant of those things, and I try and find additional ways every single year to minimize my impact on the world to some extent. And I think that if everybody did that, that would go a long way to doing a lot of good.
Thank you. I think that answers the question from STG Warriors. They have asked us that uncontrolled visitation by tourists and nature lovers is leading to the degradation of wildlife reserves and conservation parks. Humans haven't even spared Mount Everest, the Arctic, and space. How can we support nature without harming it?
So this is, I saw this question in the chat. This is a really deep and thoughtful question. And I can tell you that if you ask 20 different scientists and explorers, you would get 20 different answers for this. For me, I mean, I'll try and keep this as short as possible. We do have a huge impact on this planet. When I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro back when I was 22 years old, it was littered with plastic. Like there was plastic everywhere, all over the mountain. People had such a huge impact on this incredible natural space. But also, it is a place that is largely protected because hundreds of thousands of people visit it every single year. When I was a boy growing up, when I thought about nature, I thought about areas that people never went to, untrammeled wilderness that we didn't explore and was left on its own. And I think increasingly, with the number of people on the planet and the fact that there are those who seek to exploit areas in a negative way, that is a vision that needs to be switched to a vision where we recognize that people are going to utilize ecosystems. They're going to be in them, they're going to be among them, they're going to be sort of embedded within this greater wildlife. And so we need to do it in a way that is as good as possible and supports ecotourism initiatives. So absolutely, there are natural areas that get overrun with tourists. And a lot of places around the world have done tourist quotas for exactly that reason, or park passes, or things where it's a pay to come in. One of the things that I thought was really innovative when I went to Madagascar was that people, local people, were able to come for free to the parks, but people who came from elsewhere had to pay a small fee. And so that meant that the area was not closed off to people in the community, and I think that that's very important, but that anyone who came to explore it, who had the opportunity and ability to pay for it, was able to keep the upkeep of this, pay for rangers, pay for people to protect the area. So it's a fine line. There have been many examples of places that have been overexploited, but there's many examples of places too that don't have enough people coming in a nice and supportive way where they're there for the wildlife, and instead those places end up with people exploiting them for illegal logging, illegal mining, other things. My inclination is always to go on the side of more tourists. If you have an ecosystem or a species that is worth more alive than dead, I think that you should make every effort to make sure that that is set up in that way. That's my take. But as I said, it's a complicated topic. That's a really deep question. So thank you, SDG Warriors. You guys are amazing.
Thank you for that answer. And actually, the chat is inundated with brilliant questions out there, and but we don't have enough time. However, you can still record your questions and post it out on the topics. I'll be sharing the link in the chat, and Jessie will be happy to answer them for you. Jessie, I cannot thank you enough for sharing your expertise with us. This was so much fun. And any final thoughts that you want to share with everybody who's watching us today?
Honestly, it's the central message of everything that I've been sharing this whole time, which is that no matter where you are, if you take that chance to be mindful, go outdoors, finish this program with me today, and if you can get outside, do. And explore, see what you can find, and share your enthusiasm for it with other people. It's the essence of Backyard Bio. I think it goes such a long way to inspiring other people, and I hope you all get that chance. So thank you so much for listening, and I look very forward to answering your questions on Flipgrid and doing all the amazing programs that Kamal has set up to get ready. So check for more videos from me there. I look forward to yours, and just thank you again so much, everybody.
Today has been so very special. It's like truly special. Thank you so much, Jessie, for sharing all about Backyard Bio with us. My student club is super excited about what they'll discover around this time. We can't wait to explore, discover, and connect with other amazing classrooms around the world. And guess what? We have Flipgrid Live events happening every week. So you can head off to aka.ms Flipgrid Live events for more information and to register for upcoming events. Surely, don't forget to check out the topic of the day, which is live right now, and have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, everyone. Bye for now, guys.